at that. Haven't gotten an update since May 18th. So yeah, I got scammed by Soldier Boy. Again. I'm shocked. Skipping about data. So what's up, ladies and gentlemen? If you like hearing a grown middle-aged man regurgitate gaming news content and talk about other things from time to time as well, make sure you hit that subscribe button and also hit the bell to get notifications of all my newest uploads when YouTube feels like sending them to you, even with the bell clicked. But it doesn't hurt. Thanks. So where do I begin with the Soldier Boy saga? Well, it goes back about 3 years ago when he initially released his first Soldier Boy console, which was proven to be nothing more than a knockoff console you can get off AliExpress, and it had a bunch of pirated games on it. He was
what up, G-Bane? Yeah, I know it's been a minute. Haven't played this in a while.
Version of the Xbox One. It had nothing to do with Microsoft, but it was like their own take on a current gen console at the time, and he was trying to sell it for the same price as like a PS4 Pro or Xbox One X. It was all a scam. It was all a fraud. And the only reason I got my money back the first time, because I did buy one in hopes I would get one to review, even back then before I got scammed the first time, I still kind of thought I wasn't going to get it. Luckily, PayPal could have stepped in and I got a refund on it. But then he comes out again recently and says, yes, we're getting back. We're going to change the game. We're going to make consoles again. And it ended up just being a knockoff of another console. Again. Android console. Again. Filled with ROMs. Again. You can get the same thing on Powkitty. And it'll be cheaper. He's just charging more money for it and just putting a different shell on it, if it even exists. So needless to say, you know what? I thought to myself, either way, it's free real estate. If I get the console, I can review it. I would have been fair and balanced with it. I wouldn't go into it just trying to trash it. And if it was a competent product, I'd be like, look, it's overpriced, but it's a competent product. It works. And if it was good, dare I say it, I would have said it was good. And if it sucked, obviously I would have said it sucked as well. And I would have went into it with a clear mind, kind of like how when you go to try colognes at a retail store, they make you sniff coffee beans in between each one. I would have sniffed coffee beans to get the foul odor of the scam I was involved in with Soldier Boy, where he scammed me back in 2018. I would have sniffed those.
What's up, Kage?
And cleared my mind for you. But then you decided to scam me again. Now my mind is no longer clear. I have no more patience now. I'm going to call you out. Now recently, I was going to jump into this video earlier, a few weeks back, but then I was like, let me give the benefit of the doubt. I tried contacting them, and miraculously, I started receiving emails from the company TRDR that they were going to send out the console. Don't worry, they were just doing various updates to it. Now, I ordered this console on April 17th. Here is the email right here. Order confirmed. Thank you for your purchase. We're now almost in mid-June. This is mid-April. Okay. Fine. Sometimes, if it's a product that's coming from China, if it's not a huge company like Amazon, they may not have a warehouse with a bunch of them here. It's supposed to be a new product, even though, like I said, it's just a friggin' Powkitty console or a billion different other names are slapped on it. Fine. So, then there's an update. Here is the update. This was on April 28th, 2 weeks after I ordered it. Again, this isn't something that's on Kickstarter. This isn't crowdfunding where there's a delay. By the way, I am speaking of things that aren't scams and frauds. The Aya Neo is actually getting shipped to me this week. That was on crowdfunding. I got the tracking number for it, so if you want to purchase an Aya Neo, I can confirm you will actually get one. But anyway, back to an actual scam. Here is the TRDR Pocket email I got late April 28th. Hey guys, thanks for ordering your TRDR Pockets. It's really great to have your support. Just wanted to drop you a note to say they are on their way. Late April. We have just been upgrading the 4G capabilities for 4G and 5G. This is just to future-proof the devices.
Damn it.
Mobile networks.
Okay, so now what now, Claptrap?
The coming months. Now, even if that was true, obviously it's a lie, but what would it, even if this was truthful, what would it benefit playing a bunch of old ROMs on? You know, it's... Oh my god. But anyway, that was their excuse. The estimate is the first...
Wait, run from what?
...to the USA on the 1st of May, and then will be sent locally to all of you. This will avoid you paying any customs charges that you would face in the USA if we send directly from our London offices. Also, feel free to shoot me any questions, and I'll try to get back to you as quickly as possible, which I did that, and they never got back to me. Thanks again. You have no idea how hard building a games console is without billions of dollars like Nintendo and Sony. It's literally like...
Easy to open. There we go. And I'm also hearing Review Tech again. He got scammed by Soldier Boy, which is, if you do this twice, I think you deserve to get scammed.
You'll see a picture.
Oh shit.
Same damn thing. It's not like they're building a new console and they need billions of dollars for research and development. It's literally the same thing as the Pow Kitty console. Man, it's amazing how people try to use, I guess you would call it propaganda. And anyway, Gianna O'Connor, founder of TRDR and Go Games.
Oh shit.
How great founders, by the way. Did you think I really wasn't going to call you out? So, okay. So, this console that they're hard at work on, spending tons of money that they don't have, like Nintendo and Sony, even though, like I said, it's just a knockoff Android console. Fine. They sent me an update. That was late April. So then I start, you know, it goes around early May. I start calling them out, calling him a fraud, doing all these things, which he is. And kind of conveniently after that, when was this sent?
Oh shit. Guns.
I get another email. Now, didn't they say they were going like to 5G before that? Maybe they're just talking about calls here, but
So wait.
they're talking about 4G calls. If you're adding 5G, I'm pretty sure it would have been able to do 4G. What is going on? So you're turning it into a smartphone? Why don't you just sell a smartphone then? What the hell? So again, this is May 18th. I said I would give a few weeks, be patient, see what happens. I gave almost a month. The console's not here. As a matter of fact, if you look here, my initial email capture of the screen didn't show this. They're saying U.S. orders are estimated to arrive between May 30th and June 3rd. That's 9 days ago, the latest should have been here. Worldwide on June 7th, that's 5 days ago that it should have been.
Sniper cartridges.
We're now almost a week past that. Now, if you're thinking that my circumstance was, you know, was the exception, not the rule, and many people happily got their Soldier Boy consoles because I'm sure they were flying off the shelves. No. He actually was on a live stream one time, and other people were calling him out for not receiving their refunds. And he basically said, no, that's it. He basically called everyone a liar, essentially, and said that if they really wanted their money back, they could have just called him.
If you ordered the Soldier Pods and the Soldier Game console, you're supposed to get a refund. I refunded everybody their money.
Oh Jesus, because it's been a while since I played the first one. I'm so used to playing the second one.
You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, everyone has an irrelevant rapper from the mid-2000s number on speed dial. As a matter of fact, I can call him right now and be like, hey, look, here it is. Let me do this right now. Hey, Soldier Boy, can I get my money back? Oh, wait, I don't have...
I also saw some stuff from E3, G-Bane. There's also some shit. Yo, why are they gonna announce an Avatar game? Not Avatar The Last Airbender, Avatar The Blue People.
And this time, admittedly...
Keo's gonna be showing up in a few.
More than likely...
He was just, right now he's not at his house, so he's gonna be showing up. That's why I started without him. He just told me to go ahead.
Website. So, that was also slick of you, too. Also, you...
I was also watching, E3. At least the Ubisoft stuff. Yeah, the Ubisoft stuff almost put my ass to sleep.
Yeah. Dude, as I sip my coffee here, I get confident.
And what's funny is, since I don't play Rainbow Six Siege, now they're creating this alien mode for Rainbow Six Siege. It's funny how it's something new and original, which I wouldn't mind playing because I already have Rainbow Six Siege. I just don't have it downloaded. So I would play this mode because it's like a teamwork type of mode. It's not all about the verses and the complications. But then there's a lot of the community for that game is bitching, saying, "Oh, give us something more original."
Like me and other people would have complained about it. Maybe
As I was saying, why would they do that?
Some more money.
They're idiots.
But guess what? I am going to call you out on it. I was patient because I didn't want to be a drama queen with this, but I wanted to give you the benefit of the doubt. 2015 Rich wouldn't have done that, okay? But 2021 Rich, let's see what happens. I saw what happened. Nothing happened. I didn't get the console. So guess what? I'm going to.
There's guns. There's bullets in the toilet.
It is nothing about me wanting to put, as you have said before, a black man down, and people and using the comments before, oh, Rich, the reason you're going after him is because of his race. It has nothing to do with his race. If he was successful with this I treat everybody equal. Whether it was a black man, a white man, Asian man, black woman, Asian woman, white woman, whoever made the transgender woman.
There, I forgot how this. Okay.
Equally, it's about the quality of the product and the character of the person, not about their skin color, not about their sexual preference, and not about their gender.
Wait, so.
It's just you're a fraud. It doesn't matter what your race is, and you're looking to scam people. You're not a good guy. You're not an ethical guy, and I'm gonna call you out on it. So, what's up, man? Where's my console? Oh yeah, I'm not gonna get it. That's why I'm making this video. This is Rich at Review Tech USA signing out. Have a go. Stop right
This doctor always weirded me out. What is a claptrap? Oh shit. Wait, what? Right. Oh shit. There. Oh. I found that. Money. Oh, that's right. What am I doing? I have to pull up on... I was also pulling up this shit that I was want... Because they still have it going on right now. And also, G-Bane, watch my stream for me as like stick if you can stick around here as long as possible because I heard there was a rumored stream raid gonna happen to me.
The giants have come to Midgard, and you have been chosen by the gods to protect this realm. But your first task is to find, well, the dark desert. Trust you. Your tribe's journey starts in the wilderness. Hunt down pets, gather rare resources.
Shit, can't turn that on?
The untamed world. Once you've plugged all you can carry, return to your village and use those resources to forge Viking-worthy gear. You must
They're showing some sort of not MOBA. Yeah, MOBA. Some sort of MOBA game.
So take heed. Ahead things rise when the sun sets. Destroy these dark spirits before they destroy the seed. Each victorious knight makes way for a new day to venture into new lands.
Oh shit.
Bid to greater heights and face fiercer creatures. And with great risk comes great rewards.
Hoo-wee.
You're a little used to Midgard squashed by a troll. Craft
Oh, it only fires 3?
build deadly defenses and grow the strength of your tribe because those giants are on their way. And it's time for us to end their path of destruction. Let's show them our might is greater than their height. As the saying goes, Valhalla can't wait.
Hello everyone, my name is Ren Maroda. I'm the creative director at Northville. We're just under 2 months away from finally launching our upcoming 10-player co-op action RPG, Tribes of Midgard, and delivering to you on July 27th on PS5, PS4, and Steam. In Tribes of Midgard, you play as an Einarjar, a glorious Viking hero that's been returned to Midgard in order to protect the seed of Yggdrasil, the world tree. Every time you start a new run, you would want to go out and explore this new world, gather some resources, fight enemies, and return to your village in order to craft better equipment and tools to help you survive. You can also upgrade and fortify your village, because each night, creatures from hell will emerge from the depth to attack your tree. Make it through the night to go back out to raid enemy camps, dwell in caves, take part in events, go on quests, build anywhere, and of course, loot countless items to gain experience and level up your Viking. We now have 8 classes in the game, each with their own
Shit.
abilities, specificities, and playstyle. As you gain experience, you level up to unlock even more skills, which you can then combine with dozens of tools for over-the-top results. But those nightly
Oh fuck, I need ammo.
aren't even your biggest threat. You must get ready and prepare for your biggest.
Oh, it's about time you got your ass back. I told people you were getting back.
Every couple of days, a giant will emerge and walk towards your village with the intent of destroying the seed of Yggdrasil. You must
Wait, you're on the mobile app?
whatever the cost. Otherwise,
Well, no wonder I'm talking to go. Oh yeah, okay.
play Tribes of Midgard completely on your own. But we highly recommend that you bring along 9 friends to thrive together. We cannot wait to share more information about this ever-growing epic saga in the weeks to come.
Oh,
Meantime,
okay.
you can already pre-order the game right now to earn exclusive items and be among the first to defend Midgard against Ragnarok. Because as they say, Valhalla can't wait. Thanks for watching. Sail.
At
Damn.
Gearbox University, it's not all textbooks.
Holy shit.
Sometimes we like to kick back and have a little fun. A good sense of humor is of
No.
vital importance if you want to succeed in these halls. Here's a list of sensible wisecracks you will hear when you're exploring our campus. Why did the tribe of Midgard cross the road? To get to the old side. Knock knock. Who is there? The commando. The commando who? I don't know. What do you ask?
That'll work.
Welcome to the home world diner.
Yeah, I know.
The special today is the dessert of Karen. Hell, I've got fallen, and I can't.
Ah.
Claptrap, Tiny Tina, and Mad Moxie walk into a bar. Wait, I think Moxie owns the
Good.
bar, so why wouldn't she be walking in? She'd already be there. And is Tiny Tina old enough to trap, walking in. I want to say he counts as a user. Okay, we'll work on this before we submit to E3. Gearbox University. Our common
Yeah.
school is a 2-year degree.
Hey, wait, what? Uh.
War is over.
Hmm.
The fight has just begun.
Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Guns.
Duty is to carry the burden. Our fun is death. When death is the end of our fun.
Yeah.
Darkness has breached reality. Just tell me why, Jackie.
Mm-hmm. Alright, I will. I mean, right now I'm just... I'll message Lee, but don't worry, I'm just distracted with Borderlands. I know. Oh, holy shit, everybody. The informant just came into my chat. That's awesome.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Dick Kane, and I'm the senior technical producer at Counterplay Games. First and foremost, on behalf of everyone at CPG and Gearbox alike, I want to thank
Oh,
you
shit.
for being part of Godfall's journey up until this point. It's crazy to think that Godfall just launched in November of last year. Our developers have been hard at work ever since. In fact, this past February, we launched the massive Primal update, which included new content such as additional rooms in Tower of Trials, Primal Gear, Ascension levels,
And Keo sent me a message on the PlayStation apps that he's gonna be coming on right now to the
Godfall on the PlayStation.
live stream. Officially, he's gonna get off the mobile app because he had to do that while being in the car.
And we will support cross-gen play, so PS4 and PS5 users can seamlessly co-op together.
Yeah.
And if you've been struggling in the Ascended Tower of Trials, don't worry.
Hold on.
We're adding matchmaking.
Oh shit.
But really, matchmaking in the PS4 edition are just the tip of the iceberg because we are
Damn pups get stolen food. What the fuck?
expansion, which we've entitled Fire and Darkness. Fire and Darkness will take players into the Fire Realm for the first time ever, where they'll be met with new challenges, enemies, bosses, trophies, cosmetics, and so much more. But alongside Fire and Darkness, we're also releasing a free content update, which we're calling the Lightbringer Update. The main component of the Lightbringer update
Okay, what the hell
is
did I
a
just
new
walk
endgame
into?
which
E3 is retarded so far.
players will fight off the
E3
darkness
has
that
always
threatens
been dumb.
Imperial.
Well, I'm watching it now because they showed a preview earlier for the okay, look, the Avatar game with the blue people.
Blue people? Like little blue men? So they're aliens?
No, you remember the Avatar movie with the blue people?
And then, of course, we want to
Yeah,
make
I remember
fashion
the Avatar movie. with the
Yes,
blue people.
that got announced as a game.
cosmetics to both the
Oh, you gotta be
Lightbringer
effing
update
kidding me? How
and the
desperate are
expansion
you?
of Light.
I don't know.
Unlocked by simply completing objectives.
So far, I don't even got a PS5, and all the games they showed weren't that interesting. But at least Godfall looks like something different. I see a bunch of like fights going on, and they're talking about, I guess, their first expansion.
Yes, that sounds good. Wait, Godfall.
I haven't played it. It's on the PS5. It's one of the newer games that came out.
It's not a prequel. It's not a remaster. It's Homeworld 3. It's the next Homeworld.
See, I like that. I like that developers will still persist. Besides giving people them besides listening to people give them shit. Because here's the thing, if there's an audience that likes it and plays it, and if they keep supporting it, you're doing it for that audience, not for the people bitching. Because there was already people that would go into that game ready to bitch because it was a next-gen game.
Godfall?
Yeah. Why don't you have a hoagie?
A hoagie?
Where's the hoagies?
Me?
Do you have hoagies?
What the hell is a hoagie? Is that like Yogi Bear?
No, I swear to God, you don't know what a hoagie is?
I'm half dead sleep. I'm half dead.
That type of name for the sandwich bread.
Look, it has in-game advertising, y'all. Oh shit, our informant was here.
Yeah, I saw.
Well, that's not gonna be good. Oh well. But she's here, that means she's pissed.
I'm standing outside Kevin Hart's trailer door.
Not my fault.
You guys want to meet him?
Oh wow, they're speaking of Borderlands, they're talking about the Borderlands movie.
What? It's making Borderlands movies. I gotta watch it.
That's what I told. But here's the thing. That's what I told you. Does it really need to be a serious? It doesn't need to be a serious movie. It just needs to be a sci-fi comedy.
It needs to be something over the top and dumb.
That's what I'm saying. That's all it needs to be. Which it might just do that if it's Borderlands. You can't take it seriously. If you don't see Borderlands seriously, you're stupid. I just gotta say, you are dumb. You're retarded.
You're dumber than your Scottish guy.
Seriously, Borderlands. I mean, that's what I think it is. It should just be a sci-fi comedy romp because it's sci-fi because it technically takes place on a different world.
Yeah, and it's all over the place with the loot boxes and stuff. You need to make it so every time they shoot somebody, they get a gun. They shoot somebody.
Or no, or they find a big, or they find one of the big ass chests, and just like I think they're gonna the way they would do it. I think they should just pick off and scavenge ammo and weapons off the different bodies of the people they kill, and then when they find where they need the best weapons, they end up finding a cache somewhere, and they're like, oh shit.
Did they just say OMG, it's a milk?
No, that was a voice line from the Borderlands game. Like, you know how they got those psychos yelling shit? Because he's playing the character I'm playing in the game right now. Kevin Hart's playing Roland. The one black guy in Borderlands.
That didn't end so well for him.
I mean, he's the only black guy in Borderlands that I've seen.
Did he have it? There were many claptracks.
No, Claptrap's being played by Jack Black.
No, I know, but in the movie they better have some claptracks.
He's one of the main characters. They're doing.
Have you kill somebody to claptrap claps? You know what I mean?
It's like they're gonna be doing like a team type thing. It's a team up movie, which kind of makes sense because unless you're playing with your friends, you don't see the other characters that much.
Oh, Tales of the Borderlands, when Troy Baker freaked out because he ran over a sperm. Oh, it's so idiot.
And the game, I guess because right now the director is out. The director of the games is or the Randy Pitchford, or he's I guess endorsing the film. The guy, I guess one of the guys behind Borderlands. Yeah. But I won't be surprised if Jack is the villain.
What, Handsome Jack?
I won't.
Jack the villain.
I know, because remember, he's not part of the first game. So that's what I'm saying. Over the
top Handsome Jack that we saw in Tales of the Borderlands is still one of the best.
No, you know who I wish if he was younger he could do it over the top, or hell they could do him now if they just put him in like prosthetics, because Jack don't even look like he looks like a normal guy, but he looks plastic to me. You know what I mean by that?
Yeah, put the actual Jack Black in there.
No, I'm not talking about him. I want Billy Zane.
Oh, yeah.
Because Billy Zane, you ever watched?
Kingdom Hearts, the very first Kingdom
I'm not talking about just Kingdom Hearts. I know this movie was not the best, but I saw like I think it was the third Scorpion King movie that was direct to DVD. He was the villain in that movie. Who's fucking hysterical.
No. I got one better one. It's the Tales of the Crypt movie.
Oh yeah.
If you have not seen that Tales of the Crypt movie, it is Billy Zane. He's a demon lord, I believe. I can't remember correctly. He is so over the top. It's hilarious. I mean, if anybody can pull over the topness off correctly, anyway, it's Billy Zane. He does know how to do over the top.
Yeah.
Then there's several actors that are over the top, you know what I mean? But he's one of the ones I know can do.
But that's what I'm saying. He would do a good handsome Jack.
Okay, here's something horrible that I thought of. If you're turning live action into this, what are you gonna do if they touch South Park?
What the hell? Why did I just die?
I knew this post show would go off the rails there.
If they what?
If they touch South Park.
That would be too hard. That would be. You would have to be stupid to fail. That should be easy. Dead fucking easy.
Or if they touch it and put wokeness in it. Because they can't do it to TV show.
I think they would. I don't think the South Park directors would not let them do it like that. They would probably tell them, "You better make fun of this shit, or we're taking the license." You know they're not gonna. You know they will not get away with that. They would be. No. You know what they would do? They would lull people in by tricking them that it is, and then Cartman would say something. That's how I can see it go. No, you can have the in the movie, but the boys are gonna be making fun of it. Cause remember, it is a part of the South Park world.
That's okay. It's totally fine.
It is, but the boys are the fucking eyes, and we agree with them. Fuck this, fuck that, fuck you.
Just make sure, and this is the time where the child actor will be known for just nothing but a cussing person. Oh, you're gonna have to get a huge cake for Cartman now. Then they Cartman thin, that'd be a shame.
Why don't they just do? Okay, then you know why I'll accept it if they're in high school.
High school, yep, high school. They can do the thing Cartman in high school because that'd be newer.
No, not then, but you can hire actors of that age. That means they can swear even though people won't like it. I've seen actors that age, like that play like high school actors fucking swear up a storm.
Who hasn't?
Exactly. Oh shit.
And before anybody in chat says, I wasn't swearing when I was a teenager, bull crap. All of us were.
My mind boggles. Like, this should all have been held. And it's
I told my teacher to suck it, so.
the internet where everyone is like, I have a take. Everyone needs to know.
I told her to suck my balls.
I feel like that's what E3 is now. It's
Why
just
do you
everyone
suck my balls? What did you say?
Showcase that was designed and executed to show Randy Pitchford on the soundstage for the Borderlands movie and keep his chair that says Randy Pitchford in frame, frame
Somebody's laughing.
possible. Like,
The fuck?
even the Kevin Hart bit was like, Kevin Hart don't give a shit
This guy has 3 balls.
on the internet right now. He don't care. Like, he's like, I was taking a dump and you came and disturbed me, and now I have to do the funny man routine.
Keo, it says this guy has 3 testicles.
I don't know what to say. Because I'm not looking right now, my thing's in your low because my computer's being an ass.
Oh.
But I am able to read your chat, and also trying to render some stuff after recording, do a bunch of things.
Shh.
This was a really, really strange conference because on paper you have like a lot of you have stuff there, right? You have the movie stuff, you have Borderlands stuff, you have Tribes of Midgard, and you have Godfall and Homeworld, and then the stuff that they did with Homeworld, were like splitting it up and having like weird. Oh, Homeworld 2 came out.
What are they talking about?
They were disappointed that more stuff wasn't shown. It was just upcoming reveals from Gearbox.
But you do know EA got hacked, right? So everything got taken, so.
Let's go through what they did actually talk about.
at this point. What's the point of
our
us?
team was kind of there and keeping on track of everything. So we'll start with the movie stuff. So obviously the Borderlands the movie, is
Why don't you tell the cast, because you were late last night, what they did to the Resident Evil cast?
Oh my god. Speaking of which, did I tell you that somebody did a response to that? And Broken Games HD literally put an image of his head on a cop with his knee on top of the neck of somebody, but as another Twitter user who's black who says, I don't want a black Wesker. And he called him, oh man. So yeah, that was kind of fucked up. He put his head on and it was, you know who's it was on? That first guy that got killed with the knee on the neck.
We're not gonna, that YouTube will get us what we say his name.
Yep.
Yeah. That's
Flowers.
That's funny.
This is very, very confusing, and it's a weird drip feeding of information that's like,
The worst part of it is,
I'm so perplexed.
no one got the benefit of anything there. The movie didn't
Is that
benefit.
Sorry, Scottish guy? Who is that Scottish voice I hear in the background?
Benefit at all.
What?
Talked about
I hear a Scottish voice in the background.
That's a person on the show that I'm watching.
Oh, God.
Calm down.
like me thinking, what you have got, it doesn't make a good impression that you've got your own like platform.
Sad when that guy put shame in his own people.
Say anything you want.
I know, right?
Spin off to a video game that's beloved by so many people. You're taking it in an interesting new direction, and you've got literally nothing.
They're taking it in a bold and beautiful direction, everyone. A bold and beautiful direction.
I could have told you that it was gonna help.
Bold and brave.
Didn't tell me.
Remember when things were just stunning and brave?
The other games.
At least it was funny back then.
What's it called again?
Ubisoft's show was just the Rainbow Pride show. That's all it was with gaming.
That didn't benefit from it.
But the only fucking thing that I got out of it was I got my wish. They're gonna remaster all the other Far Cries, and then Blood Dragon will be one of them also as a separate purchase. Yes.
Try and sell people on it. And then
Blood Dragon?
Yes.
it was just, it genuinely felt like we want to have the movie showcased in some regard. How can we have enough content to string it all together? And it was like,
Finally able to pull up the damn chat.
you
Yes, you did come in.
and you played the developers. What's going on here? Even God
He's gonna kill me.
I mean, Godfall admittedly did have like quite a big news beat that was sort of
Oh shit.
quietly sort of revealed there. They did reveal that Godfall is going to be coming to PS4, so that's very, very interesting. Because Godfall was, you know, one of the few like proper PS5 exclusives for a time. I think it was also PC, right? But like in terms of console, it was PS5, and so now coming to PS4 is great. Obviously, there are way more PS4s in the world than there are PS5s. That's cool.
Yeah, that's true. It's called shortage of people not working very much and making chips.
Yeah.
Did you know that? Okay, did you know not interrupt me? But this is just something involving in the industrial making stuff. That even someone making glasses for lenses, lens for your glasses, like glasses I wear.
Yeah.
Those lenses that someone makes by hand can sometimes be used for chips in computers.
Oh shit.
So something as you, or like you know, like laser display, you know, for laser play. So something even mundane, people, for anybody watching who works in economics class, or didn't pay attention to people, something as so as mundane as doing manual labor jobs, making lenses that contributes to making you want to get more PS5s.
kind of strange and meandering. They've always
You
been
even make, oh god, if she accidentally hit
Think
past
about
the
this
full
one,
body, what am I gonna
it
do?
was strange and meandering and kind of pointless, and it didn't have any Randy Pitchford doing magic. Like, if you're gonna
They want Randy Pitchford doing magic? Are you serious?
in your showcase,
Cool.
have Randy Pitchford in
What kind of fucking people do they have sitting at these things explaining?
Well, at least it's not a joke like before where they're having all that party stuff.
Yeah. That was earlier.
No, like a year back in 2019.
Oh.
Or it was like a festival or some weird crap. It was huge.
Yeah, but I bet people like going just to get free shit.
Ramifications for people working from home well into 2021, and I think beyond too.
Doesn't.
So maybe this was just a case of they overcommitted to.
Exactly, but I mean, so why go to something if they're gonna bitch about it?
Just kind of maybe said, we're not going to have this in time. Maybe production on the movie moved back because of new scheduling stuff to do with the movie or whatever. Production schedules shift all the time. And maybe they just were like, we need to focus on getting those done. We're not going to have anything big to show in the showcase. Which is, it feels that way to me. And maybe this is just me reading between the lines because
Whew, Jesus.
wanted Gearbox to
I think I killed all of them.
noteworthy showing. And so it felt like those interstitials where, you know, you had the dad jokes.
Jill, come here. Come here.
Oh, Joe cannot move.
Joe.
Was it Borderlands University, like Borderlands Science Project?
Joe will get shot.
Which is super, super cool. It just feels like maybe it's just...
Killer, do you know Cho?
But overall, we're gonna
I
throw
guess not.
the ESA stream. This was our very, very brief post stream for Gearbox. Quickly, Gordon, overall thoughts on the stream.
Earlier this week I said I wanted to see how Borderlands was different from Borderlands, and they didn't give it to me. I'm disappointed. I wanted more.
Tam?
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm more excited about Wonderlands than I have been about a Gearbox game in a long time, and I'm a fan of Borderlands, and I hope that
You look like you just came from the Borderlands.
opportunity to show off what's cool about that game and really sell it.
It probably looks like he just got off being high.
No, he just got out of Busan with the way that hair is sweating. They have a smiling Korean on the right. That's not you, but he's wearing glasses.
Alright, we'll be back again tomorrow morning.
And he has
Young Yao?
And don't forget,
no.
pre-show. We're gonna go over to the ESA show right now, and then Kurt, Jordan, and Phil will be back after that to wrap up E3 Day 1. Catch you soon.
I think Young Yao's the only Korean Asian guy on the internet that's wears glasses. How many of us?
Because every other one doesn't.
Or they just don't want to come on the general.
Heresy. They're talking in Chinese, I don't understand. Kyo, have you ever had 3 putazos?
Apparently when Jibe was in here, I don't think you were here. Apparently the Chilope made the burrito smaller, unfortunately.
Huh?
The Chilope, the restaurant, Chilope,
Yeah.
they shrunk the size of their burritos.
Oh.
I don't know if you eat Chilopes, and I don't know if Jibe's in the chat.
Kyo, you need a chalupa?
Yeah, it's Rupa. I'm a Cool Beacon. Hey, Cool Beacon. What's up?
What's up?
Part of Play for All, GameSpot will be bringing you the latest gaming news and announcements.
Oh, I got a grenade mod, okay.
Developers, the biggest press conferences, and lots more. Play for All is our yearly online event that combines the excitement and announcements of E3 with charity live streams the following week with lots of special guests who are going to help us raise money for AP Gamers. So join us in June for E3 and Play for All on GameSpot.com, YouTube.com/GameSpot, Twitch.tv/GameSpot, and as a part of E3's official broadcast. See you then.
He's currently watching E3 right now.
What?
So he's currently watching E3. It's
Oh.
I'm Cool Bake content.
That's what we're doing right now. Well, I'm doing it. Kyo's not doing anything.
My contact wants to kill me. What more do you want?
Why?
She's right up there with the psychotic first girlfriend I had. I told you that girlfriend was gonna.
Oh look, there goes the Hick character, Scooter.
Scooter! Oh, what happened to you in Tales of Borderlands was so messed up.
Fuck. I gotta go kill somebody for it.
You're busy because it's E3. I'm Jeff Roebuck for GameSpeak.com. Joining me is Mike Minotti, who's going
jaded people.
Mike, it's time to learn to love E3 again because we're jaded games journalists. I understand you put together.
Did he just say jaded games journalists?
Journalist heart, memories of E3. You ready to just take me through it right now? I'm happy to do so.
Yeah.
Keo, you wanna make fun of some journos?
Journals.
One's bald,
Ball of E3 love, and I'm
the other looks like EDP.
Gamer Christmas is past, future, present. Yes.
not future. Those are sad.
Oh, fuck.
That's right. Yes, right. You illiterate.
Oh shit.
Yeah, this will be great.
All right, Mike. What is this? Should we set it up or should we just start playing it?
No, this is when Sony announced the Final Fantasy VII remake at E3. This is from somebody in one of the front rows. We're gonna hear how excited and happy all those people are. Jeff.
Damn, I just hit a massive fucking difficulty spike.
Oh, this is like so. This is like from the audience. Okay, this is
Right,
exciting.
it's a reaction trailer. Some people didn't know what this was at the time, and everybody wanted them to make this because, like, what PlayStation 4 had like a tech demo that was basically the intro of Final Fantasy VII, like redone, right?
Final Fantasy set. Oh shit.
And they're like,
Keo's triggered.
so everyone was disappointed, but then we got this.
I heard.
You get to play as. Oh my god, you get to play as Jesse
We're starting to realize what
and that Joe character looking guy.
fun.
Even that
Oh,
playground
yeah.
there, like, if you
Oh.
know Final Fantasy VII,
Oh.
you're gonna recognize
I'm
that.
hearing
So,
nothing.
yeah,
I'm looking at it right now.
slowly dawning
I am
throughout the
hearing
audience.
nothing.
I think most of them who really like Final Fantasy VII know what it is, recognizing the name.
Yeah.
That's a great reveal, right? They don't start with Cloud, so there. Yeah, this is when everybody really knows what's up. Even if you weren't aware yet, all right?
Right. Yes. Even if you were like a very casual fan, someone who's never played Final Fantasy before. Yeah. Okay. I've got a slight chills, Mike.
Yeah,
Chills.
And I know you're not a weeb like I am, but come on.
What is this, Mike?
What?
It says Super Smash Brothers Mega Man trailer.
Oh, this is the most excited I have ever been.
What?
for E3. I love Smash
I
Brothers,
thought
but
Mega Man was
Mega
already
Man
in
is my
Smash.
favorite video game.
No.
And this was back
They took him out of the recent one.
party characters. Like this point right here, like I
You
knew
really
it
put
was.
him in there?
Yes.
I lost it, Jeff.
That's the
I
character
was
reveal?
Yeah, that's the character reveal, Mega Man.
watching with him.
Oh
I
my
absolutely
god.
flipped out. Like,
I was
played
really pissed.
Smash
Yep, that's him.
and is literally the character I would have wanted in that game the most. And at this point, there was no indication that was going to happen. We had only gotten Snake and Sonic as third-party characters at this point ever in the series. And look at he's doing all his great moves. It's an incredible remix version of Mega Man 2 music. The beautiful CG art. This is still the best Mega Man has ever looked, by the way. It's
Yeah,
this
that
like
makes sense.
Smash Bros. Version of him. They're kind of like it like captures
Not really.
of the
I'm picky on which Far Cries I like.
staunchy.
No, I
Mike,
heard him. Hey, John, I
I'm
heard you're excited for Far Cry 6.
If you're not gonna bring anything that I oh okay.
Oh no, yeah, no, I'm not really.
He's excited for the Far Cry collection.
This might be my
Oh yeah.
favorite moment.
No, I mean they can be sold bought separate. I'm just gonna get the fucking Blood Dragon.
Longtime Legend of Zelda fan, and it's always been like one of my most important.
Woo, woo, because I already own all their fucking games anyway,
They said they were gonna change things.
except that one. I only have it on the Xbox One, but that's the old one.
I like didn't really believe it.
I want like a redone,
Released this trailer, and I was just all in. It might
and then I can stream it and just say, "Can I just kill people? Damn it!"
I mean, honestly, it's almost just like good filmmaking. This trailer, like they know like you're gonna.
Final Fantasy VII movie.
Oh, he's gonna laugh. The bird's gonna laugh. I love it for some reason. It's really good. Here it comes. I think about that all the time. I don't know. Just the way they frame that in that song, it gets me pumped up. Like, yeah, here it comes indeed.
Fuck, which way did I go with this one?
That's great. That is so good.
Oh, this boy. This is a big boy, Mike.
This is a pretty short clip. I think everyone's gonna know it is. But from E3 2004, it's not just about video games, Jeff, and trailers and demos. Sometimes it's just about personalities. And this was like the emergence of the Reginator from 2004.
I'm gonna hit play. I'm very excited. My name is Reggie. I'm about kicking ass. I'm about taking names, and we're about making games.
That's all we need to know.
For those who don't know, Reggie invented the Bigfoot pizza, I think. So, of course,
I like how that's what you brought was for video
That
game
is the laugh
Nintendo.
of a
He
man who has lost
invented
his
the
soul.
big.
I don't even. I think it was the Bigfoot, and I don't think he invented it. But whatever. Yeah, he's named on the.
No, he was in his basement, staying up all night. And like, I got it. I cracked it. All right, before we get mad, we better just leave Microsoft now. If ever there was a sequel that was anticipated, it was Halo 2 after Halo 1 came out. It was a very big deal.
This is the game that made me get an Xbox. I got an Xbox for Halo 2. Absolutely.
Everyone was very excited. The only thing people didn't like about Halo 2
Who
was the
didn't
ending,
buy an
right?
Xbox back in the day for Halo?
Bigger stuff, yeah. Spoiler warning.
It was the first big multiplayer console game.
And I think, you know, especially at this point, this kind of long, uninterrupted gameplay demo was maybe a little bit
I could give you a
unusual, right? I
massive
think
lecture
this is what
history lesson
popularized
how
that.
Halo benefited the gaming industry. Yes, I
2015.
said it.
They have on Uncharted 4 demo that's basically the same kind of format, right? You just play a long level from the game. This is E3 2007, and it's kind of hard to believe now, but this was the E3 where Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare was the belle of the ball.
Yes.
You know, like Call of Duty is the biggest thing in the world right now, and still is, and people are excited about it, but it maybe isn't like a showpiece for the show anymore, because a lot of the people are, again, they're hoping for something more surprising than here's the next Call of Duty. At this point, this was really Call of Duty hitting its stride. Like that moment right there, people freaked out about. People talked about that all show. We did not see that guy in the tall grass till he got up, and that absolutely destroyed people's brains in 2007. But you know, Jeff, it's not just about gameplay.
Shit, I gotta pee. Hold this.
Sometimes celebrities can even make their way into your heart.
Man, this really was a moment, wasn't it?
It was. I mean, everyone loves Keanu Reeves.
Keanu
I'm not one that gaga
Reeves.
over celebrities, but this is pretty neat.
And remember crowds? He seems to be very interested in the game that he was making. So, that's kind of all you can ask for from a celebrity, right? Just come, don't talk down, seem like you're enjoying yourself, maybe even actually enjoy yourself, and people will respond to that. And also, you know, kind of be Keanu Reeves. That helps a lot.
You think they're going to bring him out this year to have him apologize? But yeah, that's pretty great. Why don't we go back again, though? Pretty far back to E3 2000 to see what was... Gosh, I was pretty young at this point, but I remember thinking this is the most excited I think I've ever seen people be for a video game. Like, this seemed like it was by far the biggest deal in the world at the time, and it's Metal Gear Solid 2.
And Metal Gear Solid was such a big deal. It was, probably the best PlayStation game. Getting the sequel on PlayStation 2, seeing all this stuff, and just, yeah, it just looked so good. So cinematic, yeah.
So you have to understand, like, at this point, the fact that we're seeing raindrops, like, bouncing off of objects, I'm seeing this, like, these light bloom effects, like, this was all pretty nuts at this time.
Yeah, games just didn't look like this before this point. And it was this, you know, perfect storm of the best artists in the world working with the best technologists in the world to make a video game. Yeah.
All right, Jeff. You want to close this out with maybe the first E3 moment?
I do.
Back in 1995, again, the first E3, and this was Sony's big moment. It was following Saturn's Sega's little show about the Saturn.
just
and they're
reminiscing
surprised that
about
it's
E3s?
out now.
No, they're just pulling up one, trying to compare why aren't these newer ones better like the old ones.
The original PlayStation.
Many reasons.
This guy right here had just given a long, boring presentation, and he did that on purpose to really emphasize what's about to happen right here, where Steve Race is going to come out and say one thing. Got chills there a little bit, because that's it right there. This is them understanding immediately. This is PlayStation, not out yet. Sony, not really in video games yet, especially not as a hardware company. But they already understand how to do this E3 show, come up and make a huge impact. It's kind of unbelievable, and it was
$2.99.
right? Like they Saturn had to bow out because the Saturn was too expensive. Sony knew that. They undercut the price by $100, and then every time Sega would respond, PlayStation would lower the price until Sega just couldn't keep in the business anymore. And they tried a little bit, but a few other systems after that. But it was the writing was on the wall at that point, and it all happened right there with PlayStation understanding how to play this E3 game. It's yeah.
See, there's all sorts of fun. I didn't even talk about giant enemy crabs and weird Elder Scrolls 6 announcements years before we'll ever see it. But there's all sorts of fun stuff, Jeff. Imagine all the fun stuff that's happening right now and what will happen in the future. So just admit it, Jeff. Admit that you love E3.
Oh yeah, that was Jim Ryan who announced that price.
I like games too. Don't tell anybody.
No, we're telling everyone.
Okay.
Damn, everybody loves fucking with Jim Ryan right now.
All right, that's gonna do it for us, everybody. Thank you so much.
Man, they're gonna get the poor man a heart attack before J-Tech does.
And if you
Don't do that.
just getting here right now and you're confused, good.
Yeah.
At least live longer to do more shit that puts J-Tech in a coma.
I hope your favorite game gets announced next. I'm sorry. All right, everybody, have a good one. Enjoy the rest of the show.
I mean, J-Tech was already on video game Suicide Watch. He hung his GTA character, basically.
What?
Oh, yeah.
When did this happen?
I remember, let's see. Back when he would always not block people on Twitter, he would actually try to defend himself. Somebody put a Twitter feed. It was like a while, way while ago.
Remember when the thing? We're having the remember Barry's moment right now.
It was his it was his GTA Online character. Even though he's gonna say he doesn't play GTA Online, which is a fucking lie, 'cause he's played it before.
He played it and killed his character, so it kind of
Yeah. So he kept getting people in the servers online knew who he was, and they kept killing him.
Passion, and it still is, but
So he just uploaded a clip of his character falling off the building.
anything that I was interested in, like comics,
And
games,
I think that was the first time the GIF or the meme came out that said, "Oh no." Anyway,
for me, art directing is something that improves the overall gameplay.
and then that's when I think Fatango made a video called "J-Tech is on Suicide Watch."
Oh, there was these kinds of ideas because when I started to do this job,
Good old
like we
Fatango.
didn't really have an idea of what they really wanted to do.
I'll be right back.
So
Mhm.
it's basically like, oh, I want to make this kind of game, but I don't know what it looks like. And for me, that's where I come in and kind of help them, kind of fill that in. I started as a fan, and I really wanted to. Well, my artwork was very inspired by the games that they created in the past. So at that point, I knew what I wanted as a fan. And with Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, it was a game that's based on gothic horror and the past, and the people
Bloodstained Ritual of the Night.
were working on. And for me, I was a huge fan of Castlevania and the gothic feeling of that entire series. And I haven't seen a lot of games that were like that, and it was very unique. And since my artwork was inspired by that kind of game, I drew a lot of those kind of dark horror game kind of styles. I was someone who knew from a very young age that I wanted to be an artist and do this specific
At a
type
very young age, I wanted bold and beautiful.
Even though I didn't really know or I had one specific goal, I still struggled to do so, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that because they wanted to be something like a specific job they want and they can't achieve it, even though they tried really hard. And for me, I think that's totally fine, and they should try something else that's new.
Did the Xbox require a blood sacrifice?
I love that back then.
Translate your work at company. I wouldn't have been in this art director position at all.
They require a blood sacrifice? Now it does.
Career, I'm not gonna take this translation job, and I still.
I made the joke with whoever it was. I was like, did Andrew just see the future when he said that?
Mhm.
That that I had no
that was when you posted that, and it was like a year, like what, 7 years to die of the oath.
Their passion job, because it's, you know, like if you're working on something that you're very passionate about, you get very emotional about it. And
Keo, does your house require a blood sacrifice?
My computer might.
that they're worried about, you know,
Don't worry, I know how to do blood magic.
kind of work, so I feel like for those people, like in a very similar situation as when I was struggling as an artist, I feel like they should try something else that's new. So for me, video games was like my second passion, and I really wanted to be involved in some way. So I decided to take on that job and be a translator. But you know, in the end, people, when you're very passionate about something, people recognize that. And I was both passionate about video games and art. So in the end, I became an art director that I never thought I would be able to do. So I feel like for those people, take the chance, even if it might not be something that you really want to do as an end goal. You should take the chance if it does change your,
Question.
you know,
Keo.
career.
Keo.
Yes, I'm here.
I hear you for a second. Tell me,
Great stuff there. Remember,
is
there's so much more
are
than
Girl Scout cookies heresy to a space marine?
So if you have the passion, the drive, the determination, you can make your dream have some kind of job in the video game industry.
They don't make the good Girl Scout
Also,
cookies anymore, so
of course,
probably
before
yeah.
that, there was a Jeff Grubb Games Beat thing. I was told behind the scenes that it didn't play, that it was a joke.
Would
He's not a terrible person. He's just extremely.
would a space marine? Well, from my understanding, the space marines,
Gentlemen, I want to remind you, don't
like on the human civilizations that they live in, which their worlds where their people live,
apparel like this.
the children look up to them and they seem to be very, you know,
Man, if only I could commemorate it.
good with them. So why is it? Could it be that
The old baseball
it was, so let's say if a Girl Scout, because he would just see her as a little girl, he's not gonna see her as a threat.
in the glass. I'm painting.
That much is made clear.
Bad cookie.
What is that?
Oh yeah.
Well, I guess what's the hat you're wearing? Their shirt.
Well, no, if they haven't eaten in a long time,
Big expensive. I'll take my shirt off.
how would they know it's bad?
Well, I hate to. But maybe get a bomber jacket, you know? Look at it. Doesn't that Tom Cruise? He's got
Probably
another
the
movie
taste.
coming out where he's flying.
Okay.
This smells like this tastes like wokeness.
Tom Cruise in 3.
And then they look up and it says, "How dare you?"
Ladies and gentlemen,
Exactly.
there's so much more happening here. Don't worry about that. There's no way I can get the script back on track, is there? Because I'm talking about the E3 shop. You should go
Q.
to.
I require an apocryphy. An apothecary.
Gaming and movies theme today. Let's talk about the lines between gaming and cinema that continue to blur.
I need an apothecary.
Jordan Vogt Roberts, the man behind the lens directing
I don't have any apothecaries for you, unfortunately. I haven't even watched the gameplay.
Yo, B wasn't kidding. Every time I play Deathwing and there's people that jump in online and they need a medic, they will spend. It's a joke that literally, because the way the Marines say the apothecary, it's so serious, yet for some reason it's funny. It's like, imagine 5 or 6 Space Marines in the middle of a match saying, "I require an apothecary. I need an apothecary. Mother, I need an apothecary. I need an apothecary. Mother, I need an apothecary."
Romano with Entertainment Weekly magazine. Thank you so much for joining us today.
I was doing that one time, and all of a sudden, when I healed somebody, but the problem is, with the way the apocryphy heals you, it's like a big ass baseball drill-sized bat up your arm. So if you think he's gonna, you think he's gonna heal you, but you really think he's gonna shove a drill up your ass. And then when you heal people, it's actually, here's the term. All right, brother, hold still. Let me drill your ass.
About just sort of history in the gaming industry. What was sort of your big introduction? I mean, I was just one of those.
That fucking game is retarded. So like that game creates so many like. Even though we know the scenarios, it's better to make up a scenario for the fucking game. Cause Warhammer makes anything any slaughter amazing. Would you like Girl Scout cookies, Kayla? A live action Metal Gear Solid.
Oh, who would do a good Snake now? Damn.
The director is this guy called Jordan Vogt Roberts.
No, but who would be a good Snake nowadays?
I don't know.
I need to go look at because there was many years ago. Last time I saw it was like 5 or 6
Christian.
years ago.
It was Christian. It was originally no. The early talks that I've seen was when it had Christian Bale as the idea.
Yeah, and David Ayer pitched or something. I can't remember. That's a move. That's a video game movie that's been developed in hell for years.
How hard is it to do? Just don't do none of the games. Just do an original story.
Well, the thing is, fans want the original Metal Gear.
But then they're having their shit. No, you know what you should do? Take the familiar locations. Build. You know what you should build up? I think Guns of the Patriots.
I hate to say this, and I hate to say this. The only thing video game one that's done the original story right, but after that it fucked everything up, was the first Resident Evil.
Yeah.
You took the locations, remember?
Not really.
Yeah, they took the Hive, which was basically the underground labyrinth. They took the
Oh, nothing like the fucking Hive.
But you know what I mean? They did the locations to a degree. Regardless what you say, they kinda they took liberties messing with it. But I'm not. It was a bad adaptation, but it was a unique thing to take your own thing with it, like we want. They just,
But I think for Metal Gear, that concept should work better. Because here's the thing: give the characters the fans and their and give the fans the characters they know with the same motives that each character has, and just craft around a new movie with using the game's title as inspirement for the plot. Like, even though it could be just Metal Gear Solid.
I'll tell you one thing about the very first Resident Evil movie. It was lightning in a bottle.
That's what I'm saying. You can only get that with Metal Gear Solid.
No, I said the Resident Evil movie, the very first Resident Evil movie, that was lightning in a bottle. Like, that wasn't supposed to happen or be that good. What they just want to do is recreate the zombie scene in the game. Remember? Look at like when the nurse turns her head. It's literally there's a few one-for-one shots from the very first 3 games.
Yeah.
Of zombie moments. And I think they want to go for the zombie factor, not the character factor. They want the zombie movie. And zombie movies were a lot back then.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, the best way is, like, you do a Metal Gear movie, it's original on its own, but with only plot threads that fans would know that could lead into something in the future.
The most one you could do would be the very first Metal Gear for the NES.
I was talking about the PlayStation one, because that one looked like it would be more easy to portray.
NES one had such thin thread, story.
But wasn't that game remade as Metal Gear Solid 3? Because that's basically the same game.
That one is Solid Snake breaking into Outer Haven.
But didn't they redo those events in the game?
Nintendo game are completely different stories. They go Nintendo, Super Nintendo, than the one for PlayStation.
Oh.
So take the one for Super Nintendo if you want to do it.
But then people, you know what's funny? If you see the jungle for, because it's okay. A lot of people are that's what I'm saying. They're familiar with that starting area in the Arctic or whatever it was. So if they see the jungle one, they're gonna assume, are they doing Metal Gear Solid 3? They're talking about Sniper Wolf. I forgot, remind me.
That's the sniper chick, but I even said the best, the ones you need to
I
keep.
guess he's supposed to be in the film, or she, or something. She, yeah, she's supposed to be in the film, because that's what they're talking about right now.
There can never be another release of a game or something that hit me at those teenage years when I was just fully ready to consume and transport. So now, sort of in the timeline for you, are you moving towards the live-action Gundam movie now, or
The live-action Gundam movie?
first?
What's he gonna do first?
That's so easy. It's a mech movie.
Easy, yeah.
And, whichever one that is, like, I don't control when the studios choose which movie they're making. And so, I love both these things to death. I have other movies and other things that aren't IP-based that I also can't wait to go and make sort of a smaller $30 million thing where I'm just going buck wild.
Oh, so if Metal Gear is made, it would be a low tier level film.
Yeah, it'd have to be a low budget.
Sounds like a plan. And I know a lot of the details, like, for both of your projects, are kind of under lock and key. I was
Yo, these things now they don't want to fucking die for some reason. Jesus.
Especially because the mythology is so vast. It feels like you can kind of drop a pin anywhere and start.
I mean, Gundam is such a fascinating thing. Similar and dissimilar from the challenge of Metal Gear. Because Gundam also is a story that they've been telling for 42 years in the Universal Century timeline. And in addition to that, they have several other alternate timelines with other series. Some that go on multiple series of movies, some that are just one-offs. And so my goal is to, for all of the people who might say, I don't know where to start, I want to be able to create this film and give them an access point where you can say, this is where you start. This is your entry point. Where Gundam fans say, hell yeah, that is my Gundam. And yeah, it might be an amalgamation of like several of these different things, different timelines and whatnot, but this is true to what Gundam is, and this captured everything I love about Gundam, and the outsiders have this too. And I feel this way about Metal Gear too, but having this sentiment of, oh, this is something that I just didn't know, I wanted to be obsessed with.
And so then with our final few minutes, I wanted to ask, because obviously it's been a crazy year for a lot of people. What does it mean for you to be back at E3, even virtually, talking about gaming again, talking about all the projects that you're working on?
E3, beyond me loving games, E3, when I was in college, me and my buddies, one of them actually kind of ran like a tech company, but we basically not fabricated, not forged, but we didn't really have any right being there, but we were able to finesse the system and get badges. And from Chicago, we all flew out to experience our first E3. Because as a kid growing up, it's just sort of this mecca, it's just fantastic.
Yeah, you're right, beat.
My first leap of I'm gonna make a documentary. And I was
Each Borderlands, yeah.
Aspects and sort of cultural tiers within E3 and how it's presented. And I never completed the documentary, but that's actually where I met a lot of these people that I still consider friends today. It literally was the year the PS3 was announced, and it's just this giant banner. The slogan name was just "Welcome Change," and the E and the change was backwards, so it was a 3. E3 actually was this really pivotal, changing moment in my life where I was in Chicago making shorts, and I came out to LA, and I remember being at LAX, and I remember being at the convention center, and just thinking, "Oh, I'm moving to LA. I feel opportunity here. This is where I'm supposed to be." You walk Cacophony is a massive wall of sound that is the West Hall, where you're just bombarded left to right. It really is a cacophony. It's a barrage. It's carnal sound. But it was amazing. And so it really, E3 changed me. It's the reason that I ended up moving to LA. Something about that trip made it. I never thought I'd move to LA. Something about that trip changed something in me where I said, this is where I'm supposed to be right now. And it wasn't even about video games, it just was about, here I am doing some of my first steps as a filmmaker in college, trying to make this documentary, and something just felt right. And so I've gone to so many E3 since then. My friendships and relationships, as I said, I'm fortunate for them to have only grown in the game world and to be collaborating not only with developers on commercial campaigns, but also with their IPs. And so to be able to be back in even this small way, I think we're all struggling with how we reintegrate into the world right now, and what that means. We've all gone from being this is great, we're at home, we're all homebodies and recluses, to being oh my god, how do we interact with people? And so, yeah, being able to be there in just the slightest, and just for it to be a thing.
Come on, let my ability reload so I can drop a turn on these motherfuckers.
Changed my life.
I'm so happy and honored that you could make the time today. Jordan, thank you so much. This has been a treat.
Thank you so much.
Borderlands is basically gun porn.
True.
All spamming will be banned, so says the live stream of the E3 event. Oh shit, they know I'm here? Nope, I reacted. Shit, I reacted preemptively on the fucking game. Ah! Got you, bastard.
As a part of Play for All, GameSpot will be bringing you the latest gaming news and announcements, interviews with developers, the biggest press conferences, and lots more. Play for All is our yearly online event that combines the excitement and announcements of E3 with charity live streams the following week with lots of special guests who are going to help us raise money.
Yeah, Keo's got your charity right here.
For E3 and Play for All on GameSpot.com, YouTube.com/GameSpot, Twitch.tv/GameSpot, and as a
Right, yeah.
official podcast.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm too busy right now trying not to laugh at the Captain Team and it's about to shake up.
Oh.
That demon. Lord.
致力于为全世界的中文游戏玩家提供专业、精准、迅速的资讯情报。篝火营地立足于中国，与多家国际一流游戏媒体同行达成正式内容合作关系，源源不断地将最新鲜的游戏资讯第一时间带给全球中文游戏玩家。自成立以来，篝火营地在全网的内容浏览量已经超过5亿，服务了数百万的读者和玩家。我们的愿景是做游戏文化传播者。您可以在全球各大手机应用市场下载篝火营地 APP， 或者访问3w.gamebonfire.com 来加入游戏传播者的行列。
What's the pure chaos in me I got? I had to have gotten the pure chaos in me.
Kingdom Hearts 4?
Nope.
What? Kyo?
I refuse to watch or listen to what you have to say.
Everybody wants your opinion. Shit, I just dropped my fucking car.
I don't see a Kingdom Hearts 4.
Hi everyone,
I'm
my
not
name
looking at
is
YouTube
Christian
right now,
Holub. I'm a writer at Entertainment Weekly, and I am here to host a panel for this year's E3.
For this year's Tetsuya Nomura fan club.
Worlds, the differences and the ways they intersect. With me here are our
Nomura's a hack.
Gary Whitta, screenwriter, Daniel Erickson, former creative director at BioWare, Juan,
Yeah, they're right, Kyo.
narrative designer at Netflix.
Oh, there's BioWare.
And Rihanna Pratchett, writer and narrative designer. Thank you guys so much for joining. Interesting fuel for this.
There we go. Fuck.
Wanted to start out with a big basic question, which is like, how important would you say is it for video games to reflect real-world events and movements? A lot has happened in the real world over the past year. I think we can all agree. My sense is that, you know, it was all about escapism, you know. But yeah, how would you guys kind of generally talk about the importance of making games that reflect aspects of...
Get off my shit, Space Marine!
...is changing so much?
I think that's a very difficult question to answer in kind of a holistic way. It really depends largely on what kind of game you're setting out to make. You're right, games have always been and remain in large part escapism. They're an escape from the real world. One of the reasons why Animal Crossing was such a hugely popular game during this pandemic year was it was like, hey, the world sucks right now, but forget about all that. Here is a very
beat.
place you can go to where everyone is
Again, there was another violation, so
you get stung by a wasp. People really
don't worry.
responded
I'm just doing what you told me.
offer of escapism because the world really did
Kicking back and
suck.
chilling.
At the same
Yeah.
time, in the last
Don't worry.
couple of decades, we've seen video games really emerge
I have my own thing that I'm gonna do, but it's
legitimate platforms.
obviously I promise you I'm not gonna be hostile. I'm just gonna present my case.
That stuff in small
If it's accepted or not,
and for the
if it's accepted or not, that's not up to me. It's not up to me to stop
do an exercise right now and
this informant chick from keep coming in
deliver
until
really kind of
this guy stops
political and social
with everything, or not everything, but gets rid of everything.
budget scale. Whether or not video games will ever
And his excuses for keeping them are very poor.
social, real world kind of issues at higher budget levels is, that maybe that's a question for us to talk about. But I think most of the interesting work in terms of games as an art form right now is being done at the indie level, and again for kind of monetary capitalist reasons that really aren't that difficult to figure out.
On that note, I think it's interesting that
When I think about the diversity front, I don't think that everything has to have diversity as sort of a core piece for it, but I do, what's exciting to me is it always feels like the diversity that is inherent in the artists is something that needs to come forward, and we're getting a lot more space to do that. So the grand exception to some of the concepts that Gary was talking about was working for BioWare. So BioWare had LGBTQ content all the way from the beginning, because primarily Dave Gator, who is the lead writer for Baldur's Gate, was queer. And he, right from the beginning, pushed this as, hey, I'm going to have representation in the game, we're going to have space here, we're going to have... And this was, interestingly, not controversial, and then super controversial. And then came to the point where I just saw today that BioWare changed its logo for Gay Pride, right, for Pride Month, and there were a bunch of comments. It was like, oh, way to pander, big corporate folks. And then all the old school folks jumped in. I was like, you do not know who you're talking about, right? This is a historical place. And to Gary's point, why it comes up through the indie movement mostly is because it's easier for smaller voices to come up there, is the more diverse the artists in our industry get, the more naturally we're going to get diverse representation, and we're going to get diverse stories from a more pure perspective than, hey, let's put in a bunch of diverse storylines. Now, in where I tend to work now, which is largely multiplayer, we talk a lot about representation and inclusion, which I think is subtly a different aspect, which is if I'm playing a multiplayer game, I want to be able to come and be me, whoever I am. But I think that's a different space than artistically representing the experience of a diverse group of people.
I also think from a writer's perspective, from a creative perspective, you know, we're drawn to diversity in all forms, because we want to explore the path less traveled. We don't want to tell the same stories over and again. We want to find the new experiences. We want to take audiences on new and different journeys. So I think writers and other narrative people are often push for that, because it's just more interesting to get your teeth into.
I think, once the stories reflect what's actually happening in the real world, people will see themselves like through their favorite media, and I think that's what really builds a connection and what gets people like really involved and interested. Diverse stories. It can be in like
what?
Like Rihanna said, like
Yeah.
things to them.
That's
the guy called Nurgle.
I think it's actually, I personally think it's important.
They all.
In the chaos and meaning for Vincent.
Vincent? Oh.
Did you see the one with him in the throne?
I'm still working on that.
Oh my god.
Do you think that kind of stuff is changing for the better in terms of people of diverse backgrounds and stuff kind of able to get to the point where they're making games, not just kind of the types of small indie games that Gary was talking about, but getting positions at bigger companies and hopefully not feeling alienated or pushed out?
I think we definitely see a movement. I think, there's definitely a lot of talent that's allowing people to tell their own stories, right? Make their own twine games, or make their own indie games, or demos, or vertical slices that gives them that visibility to then, jumpstart
Roadkill.
Onto their next platform and their next bigger thing. And then we also connect and we try to uplift each other. I know that there are things like Latinx in Gaming, which is a nonprofit that I helped co-found specifically for that reason, as well as partnering with other places like Game Devs of Color, and looking into other initiatives to really support everyone else that's trying to break into this field and tell their stories.
Yeah, I just want to add something to that. I think this whole conversation, we've been talking about different aspects of it, but they're all really part of the same conversation.
Anybody know it's supposed to be free next
month? Or can games accurately reflect the real world? And we're also talking about video game developers and publishers have diverse and inclusive staffs actually making those games. You can't have one. Let's say that the next Assassin's Creed game took place during the American Civil War and you played a slave. on a plantation in the deep American South. That might be a fascinating area to explore in terms of all the political and social themes that we're talking about here. But Ubisoft can never make that game until they have a team capable of making it and speaking to those issues in a way that is authentic. Like there's no way that I could tell a story like that because I haven't lived that experience. I'm not obviously talking about the historical experience, but I've never experienced racism. The only way that I could write a character like that would be mimicking what I've seen done before in other media, which inherently means I don't have anything new to bring to the conversation. It's going to feel kind of warmed over because that's what it would be.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's all about that intersectionality of like where we as humans like connect and how we evolve and work together, and where the strife comes from the drama that's inherently us being ourselves and dealing with our emotions. I think it's super important that we do have people in the
My emotions.
capable and ready to tell those stories from a personal place of authenticity.
As Mike would say, oh my god.
Necessarily always translate to that note will get hit,
Fuck.
or what you see will get done. Like I've gotten shut down for giving Latinx feedback on something. I'm like, hey, that doesn't sound like something a Latino person would say, and I've been told like, oh, don't worry about it, it's just a smaller note. So just because I'm there, like, doesn't necessarily mean that, I'm always like have my ear open and I'm trying to do the best that I can.
In the middle of a fucking.
For the community, for the people that aren't.
Whoo-wee! I'm trapped on both sides. There's like the skags surrounding one way and the bandits are surrounding one way, and they're all almost higher the level than I am.
Other non-forms of ableist language here, and I'm doing it again too. To really test ourselves and like grow and like make sure that we tell stories that resonate with and for everybody.
If that's what you're trying to do, and I think that's the real hard part right now, is there is.
Wait, I didn't know I had another rifle. What the fuck?
Story. I think that's fine. I think
Ah, shit! That's guns over there.
Myself, at least, love to see a lot of authentic stories across the board than a lot of inauthentic stories that become very samey, right? It becomes flavor of the week. Whenever the diversity movement that's big on the news right now, there's going to be a character that represents that, and it's going to be, right, and everything sort of becomes this.
Damn, are they calling out woke culture?
No, we've been telling a certain story for a long time. Now let's go get
Developers, what's going on here? I thought y'all hated money.
the other stories that we've been telling for a long time either.
I also think we've had a bit of a problem in the industry in drawing from the same well sources. When I started out in the industry, I had interviews where I could just talk about Aliens or Terminator, and everyone would be, they'd be the favourite movies and things like that. Tarantino is always a reference.
Is there backbones?
And there definitely is a need for creators to broaden their content in to produce better content out. And so, there are so many great fantasy and futuristic writers that aren't white guys like N.K. Jemisin or Nnedi Okorafor, or look at what the team behind Into the Motherlands is doing, which is not a video game. It's a tabletop RPG, but it's put together by a diverse team of creators.
I'll be right back.
And Octavia Butler, we need to
contact my informant.
The tales tell of a duke in the Dark Ages, which puts us somewhere. To find the origin of Valak, the most feared demon in the Controverse lore to date, we must look to the legends passed down in one small town in Romania. The tales tell of a duke in the Dark Ages, which puts us somewhere between 500 and 1000 CE. He built a great castle, which would later be known as the Abbey of St. Cardo. Hidden in the dungeons was a summoning ground, carved with the serpentine symbol of a mythical being known as Valak. The people in town feared the duke because he wrote countless texts on witchcraft and rituals to call upon these evil forces of hell. He would eventually use these spells to open the gateway between our world and the underworld. By sacrificing 5 people as a part of his spell, the duke would allow Valak to come through and walk amongst the living. But as Valak rose through the crevices, the church, who had caught wind of the foul things happening there stormed the castle and interrupted the liturgy. They attempted to seal the gateway using liquid from the Holy Grail, and while this appeared to cause the portal to close back up, this seal would not last forever. To learn the secrets of Valak's past, the entity's true purpose, and what it represents for the story and the character's future, stick around to the end of this video. Welcome to Horror History. My name is Professor CZ's World, and you better pay attention this time, you little piece of shit. In today's lesson, we're going over what I consider to be the main boss of the Conjuring franchise. Like its counterpart Malthus from the Annabelle spin-offs, Valak is based on a mythological deity from the Lesser Key of Solomon, a series of grimoires on demonology. It's divided into 5 books, one of which is called Ars Goetia, a textbook guide to conjuring demons. In Annabelle, Ars Goetia was replaced with this textbook called The Devil's Welcome. But to learn about Valak, we need to turn the clock back even further and look into the pages of these mysterious texts found in a tomb just outside the Abbey of St. Carta. Ancient books are discovered, we can see the outer cover of 3 of them. 2 of them have piercing yellow serpentine eyes, much like the eyes of Valak and anyone else the demon takes control of. This suggests that these books, unlike The Devil's Welcome, may specifically be about Valak. The snake eating its own tail symbol is commonly associated with Valak in the movie, but I'll come back to that shortly. In Ars Goetia, there are 72 demons said to have been commanded by the early King Solomon. They range from kings, dukes, princes, marquises, knights, presidents, and earls. Valak is considered a president of hell. In the mythology, Valak looks a lot different than it does in the Conjuring movies, but there are some references to the mythological version that you may not have noticed in the movies. On one page of the book, there is a boy-like form with a snake coming out of its mouth. This is likely a reference to how Valak is depicted in the Lesser Key of Solomon, as an angelically winged boy riding on a 2-headed dragon. In the movies, Valak is a shapeshifter, whose form seems to change based on what makes its victims most uncomfortable. There's also this image. Valak is commonly associated with a snake. Serpent symbols can be found throughout the monastery, and there are multiple occasions where the demon is introduced as Valak, the defiler, the profane, the marquis of snakes. The bird is probably there to represent Malthus, an Earl of Hell in mythology, who you may know as the demon who's connected to the Annabelle doll. I did an entire video on the history of Malthus if you're interested. That would also leave the question of who these other 2 horned demons are. Perhaps other villains that we'll meet in future Conjuring movies. On another page, you'll see a more familiar sight, the nun form of Valak, which seems to be its favorite form to use, but there may be a reason that we see the nun form so often. On the side, you'll notice another picture of a snake eating its own tail. This is known as an Ouroboros, a mark seen in many ancient cultures as a symbol for the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. We don't exactly know what Valak's endgame is, but we know that it has a strong desire to possess, as explained in The Conjuring 2. Perhaps by possessing someone and moving into a new body, Valak feels a new sense of life, and the Ouroboros is a sign of the tendency to go from body to body, creating a cycle of new demonic possessions. The text written in the book isn't legible, but Father Burke does read some of it aloud, and I am going to roll it. So roll it.
And out of the ground formed every beast of the field, every bird of the sky, whatever the man, gold, living creature, that was its name.
This passage is part of the biblical text of Genesis 2:19, so I looked up the meaning of that passage and found the following. The act of naming something is meaningful in the book of Genesis. This often implies rule and responsibility over that thing. This may explain why Lorraine is eventually able to defeat Valak, but we'll get there when we get there. Now you may be thinking, this Valak guy sounds like kind of a bad dude going around and possessing people and crap. I mean, who would actually want to summon Valak? If we go back to the mythological readings of Ars Goetia, it describes the benefits of calling upon this malevolent force. He perfectly locates hidden treasure and finds where serpents may be hiding, which he delivers onto the hands of the conjurer. Valak is void of any force or strength, but has dominion over 30 legions of devils. If this holds true for the Conjuring version of Valak, it explains why the Duke of St. Carta built this fortress and tried so hard to summon Valak there. He was driven by the allure of power and riches. The book also associates a sigil, or a symbol considered to have magical power, to each of the 72 demons. If you've seen Hereditary, you may recognize the necklace as an example of this. They don't lean too hard on this in The Conjuring, but I did notice that the summoning ground inside the Abbey almost seems to resemble the sigil of Valak. But upon closer inspection, the outer ring is formed by a double Ouroboros. This image can be seen in one of the other books, next to a more traditional demonic form resembling a gargoyle. I've always assumed that this is Valak's true form, because it's also seen labeled as Valak on another page, and it seems to be the form used when Valak enters and eventually exits our world. That brings me back to the summoning ritual, which, as I mentioned, was thwarted by the church. They took over the castle and converted it into the abbey. The place was fully surrounded by crosses to keep the evil contained, and nuns prayed there continuously, working in shifts so that the place was constantly being blessed. Earlier, I called Malik the main boss of the Conjuring franchise, and this is why. Malthus from the
I'm having a gunship battle in the 7 Seas, and they're blowing up my, trying to take over Canada, and let's just say it doesn't damage my ship bad. I'm not happy.
24/7, and even this is only enough to hold the demon off for so long. One of them describes the bombs of war shaking the abbey and once again cracking open the gateway. I'm guessing that this was during World War II, and Romania was subject to air raids during that war. Romania was hit with air raids in 1943 and 1944, less than a decade before the main events of the Nun, which takes place in 1952. But ever since those bombs dropped, an unidentified nun began stalking the corridors of the abbey at night. But this nun was anything but holy.
What is that? The Conjuring?
The guy goes through the history of each demon, which it's interesting to see the ones they choose, which they choose some pretty fucked up entities from history.
Why don't you send me that link to Discord?
I am. Because I'm like, that's why I watched The Conjuring, just to see how they actually portrayed the entity they're dealing with. And I mean, they do alter it, but they alter some of what they present them to do, but they keep their backgrounds of what they're known for the same.
Basically, they keep the messery and messed up.
So they basically keep it like any shit he's familiar with is what's in legend, but dealing with it, it's a completely different story because it could do shit that you haven't seen, or do like shit you wouldn't think they could possibly do. They fucking do.
To try to retrieve a relic that they believe will save them. But when Valak quickly strikes down the elder of the two, the lone survivor must give herself up so that the demonic presence does not have a vessel to escape it. Not long after, a delivery guy named Maurice, most people just call him Frenchie, discovers the remains, and word gets around to the Vatican that trouble is afoot in Romania. They send one of their best priests, Father Burke, and an inexperienced novitiate, or nun in training, named Irene Palmer to investigate. Valak watches them as they arrive, and somehow the scene of the incident is still fresh. Valak continues to haunt the premises, but the ghosts of the nuns that inhabited it still linger. So when Sister Irene and Father Burke speak to the Reverend Mother, the highest-ranking nun in the convent, I'm assuming that this is actually Valak, posing as the Reverend Mother, because the throne she's sitting on has an Ouroboros on it. She tells them that the nuns are about to take a vow of silence for the evening, but they can stay over and speak to them in the morning. This may be part of Valak's plan to try to eliminate Burke and possess Irene during the night. As Frenchie heads back to the town after escorting them, Valak uses a variety of scary forms to send him running so that he's unlikely to want to come back for them, including this thing. If we're doing spin-offs on every character that appears, we gotta do this guy. Burke is awoken by what appears to be a boy he performed a failed exorcism on years ago. When he catches up to him, a snake slithers out of the boy's mouth and comes for Burke, knocking him back into an open casket, which becomes instantly buried by Valak's magic. Next, Sister Irene is lured out of bed into the chapel, where she sees the demon's shadow circle around her until it gets to the mirror, and appears in a corporeal form behind her, but only in the reflection, before it roars at her and shatters the mirror. Valak appeared to them each in different forms because it represents that which they have yet to overcome. For Burke, he hasn't stopped feeling guilty about the child he was unable to save, so Valak appears as that child to prey on his weakness. For Irene, it appears as the nun, because she hasn't made the commitment to take her vows yet. They are each confronted by a challenge that they have yet to overcome. Irene hears a bell ringing in the graveyard.
Oh, damn.
Burke had been buried alive and was using his lifeline. You should learn from his example, and when you do, make sure you hit...
Did you get the live action one too?
The next morning, they come back to speak with the nuns, not realizing that there are none remaining. Like, N-O-N-E, none. I assume that Valak is the one to open the gate for them, and probably also close it to that evening, locking Irene inside for another night. As Father Burke studies the map, Valak, this time posing as the abbess, tells him that he won't find another way in.
It's too late, Father. Sister Irene is lost.
This also plays into Burke's fears, because he doesn't want Sister Irene to be the latest person he was unable to save. Valak grabs him, using the same decrepit hands that attacked him while he was trapped in the coffin, and they break off and crumble on the floor. He also encounters a zombified version of the boy that's been haunting him. His demonic hands protrude from the walls. When he reaches him, he has Valak's signature yellow eyes and a forked tongue, a trait commonly associated with the devil. Burke breaks free and runs for it, probably narrowly avoiding being possessed, and when when he looks back, the ancient evil has reverted to its unnerving nun form. Meanwhile, Irene awakes from a nightmare and discovers a door that's labeled Finite Hic Deo, or God Ends Here. She too encounters Valak, who creates a turbulent windstorm in the hallway, and you already know what's coming. She gets air-yeeted across the hall, but she's rescued by the ghost of Sister Oana and joins the others in a little midnight emergency.
Hey John, I got Disney movies for Blu-ray for
Probably a scene that
$2.
took
It was like
place at
more
some
than
point in
that.
the 1940s, just after Valak
I know.
coming after the lives of these nuns, and we're just seeing a slightly altered version of it that includes
Kyo's going after the life of these nuns.
100%. I'm keeping it here in the chronology. I'm also not really clear on if the prayers of the ghost nuns would actually help hold the seal at all, but we can at least say that them encouraging Sister Irene to pray would have some effect, because Sister Irene is real. It doesn't come without cost, though, because Valak makes like that goth girl you dated in college and scratches a pentagram into her back. Burke and Frenchie team up against a reanimated version of Sister Victoria. Based on what we know from Ed and Lorraine's various lectures, this isn't possession, because the demon would need a soul in order to possess someone, and that would defeat the purpose of Sister Victoria's sacrifice. So what's probably going on here is that Valak is just moving around her body the same way that Malthus moves around the Annabelle doll.
This would rather give the impression of possession.
Anyway, they catch up with Sister Irene, who finally realizes the nun she's been talking to were only an apparition.
There's no one left. We have our answer, Father. As if there was any doubt before, this place is no longer home.
Valak next encounters them in the dungeon area, beyond the door with the Latin text translating to God Ends Here. This area represents hell within the monastery, so it's fitting that this should be where their final battle with Valak takes place. They split up to search for the gate, because, you know, that's the best plan in a horror movie. Sister Irene enters one of the rooms, and Valak appears in the form of a... what's the word for a group of nuns? Like a horde? Or a flock? Okay, I looked it up. Apparently it's called a superfluity, which was definitely not the word I was looking for, but whatever. We'll just call it a crowd of nuns. Each of them has their faces covered, and they're able to overcome Irene and possess her.
You failed. Just as you failed everyone in your life. Tomorrow, a village will be missing its idiot.
Irene's apparent possession does not last long, as Frenchie kicks down the door and encounters the possessed Irene, who air-eats him into a pillar. We've seen a lot of air-eating in this franchise, and really just in this era of horror in general, but that one looks kind of painful. However, Sister Irene still has the Holy Grail hanging around her neck, and Frenchie is able to smear some of it onto Irene, which immediately exorcises the demon. We've seen characters use incantations, holy water, and crosses as part of the exorcism process, but this is by far the most effective and powerful method. Obviously, there's going to be a very limited supply, though, so from a balance perspective, this doesn't break the game in favor of the good guys. Valak reverts back to the nun form and grabs hold of Frenchie after sending Irene flying out of the room, and he becomes the next victim of Valak's possession. This is the only time we see Valak possess someone on screen, and it's different from any of the possessions we've seen in other Conjuring Universe movies. The other entities possess a person by basically puking this black stuff into their mouth. I mean, I don't really know how else to describe it, but with Valak, we see a snake slither out of its mouth and into Frenchie's. There's also an image of this in one of the Duke's books. The reason I bring this up is that it connects back to the idea that I mentioned earlier, that the Ouroboros is always associated
Why
with
buy a
Valak
movie
as a sign
physically
of the
when you can
cycle of
download
demonic
digitally for
possessions
free?
as the
Screw
demon
that.
goes
It's
further
called
into the universe.
piracy,
All
Chris.
evidence points to these demons
There's
being
nothing
able
wrong
to
with
essentially
plundering.
split themselves to be able to do
Ouroboros.
at once. So while Valak was incubating inside of Frenchie's body, the nun form could continue to terrorize Irene and Burke by rising out of the water that now covered the gateway and attempting to drown Irene. Burke tried to send the demonic entity back to hell, but was overcome by its power. So it's ultimately Irene who tricks Valak by pretending to offer the Holy Grail, perhaps the biggest bane that still threatened the creature, and instead spitting its contents out onto the unholy being, causing it to be torn apart as the gateway to hell appears to close. The fact that she defeats it by spitting is significant, because there had long been a superstition in the nearby village that they should spit on the ground whenever the cursed abbey is mentioned. Sister Irene's victory also makes sense. Valak was still attacking her in its nun form, probably not realizing that she had taken her vows shortly before. Irene was no longer afraid of this religious commitment, so the appearance of the nun would no longer intimidate her. But this wouldn't be the last time that Valak would utilize this appearance. The demon lies dormant inside of Frenchie's body and uses it as a vessel to break free out of the circle of crosses that surrounded the abbey. The evil was no longer contained to a singular location. It would continue to incubate within him as he eventually settled down and got married, at which point the symptoms of his possession made themselves noticeable. In 1970,
They pulled a
help was
Belmont
called in.
thing.
Frenchie is diagnosed by a pair of paranormal investigators named Ed and Lorraine Warren. Lorraine is most likely the sister, or at least a very close relative of Sister Irene, given that Irene is from Bridgeport, Connecticut, the same place that Lorraine was born. They also both have clairvoyant visions, and that ability seems to be hereditary. Lorraine's daughter exhibits the trait as well. When Ed and Lorraine meet Frenchie, it's one of the worst possessions they've ever seen. He's speaking in fluent Latin, despite having a third-grade education, and inverted crosses can be seen emanating from under his skin. The couple assisted on the exorcism, and since Lorraine was a medium, it took a huge toll on her. So much that she locked herself away for 8 days and never spoke about the experience for many years. It's possible that Valak wanted revenge on the family after Irene burned it so badly in Romania, and it wouldn't be done with them quite yet. We never find out if this exorcism was successful, but we do know that the results were grim for Frenchie and his family. In 1976, Lorraine has a vision containing Valak while investigating an unrelated case in Long Island, and the experience contributed to making it one of the most haunting cases of her career.
This is as close to hell as I ever want to get.
With Frenchie no longer around, Valak searched for a new target. There were probably other possessions that took place between Frenchie's demise in 1970 and the happenings in Enfield, England in 1977, but so far they have not been documented in any movie. The best targets for a demon are those who are weak of faith, as we learned from Sister Charlotte in Annabelle Creation. And one thing that can cause a person's faith to weaken is distress in their family life.
The timing isn't a coincidence. Negative entities often feed off emotional distress.
So Valak's next target is the Hodgson family, who recently lost their father when he ran away and had twins with the woman from down the street. They most likely opened themselves up to the poltergeist when sisters Janet and Margaret used a spirit board to ask a vulnerable question.
Is Dad ever coming home?
As we know, thanks to other controversial entries, reaching out to the spirit world to try to get information or talk to a loved one can be dangerous, because doing so is essentially inviting an inhuman spirit into your life. The inhuman spirit may trick the victim, making him or her think that they're talking to the spirit of the person, when in fact they're talking to a malevolent entity. So asking if their dad is coming home told Valak that this family is already struggling on an emotional level, and they would be the perfect targets. But after nearly being defeated by Irene, Valak wanted to operate in secrecy this time. So instead of haunting the family directly, it took hold of the ghost of a man named Bill Wilkins, making it seem like Bill was the one terrorizing the family. During the middle of the night, Janet is transported downstairs in front of the chair that Bill Wilkins passed on. As taught by Ed Warren, the OG horror history teacher before Emo Abraham Lincoln took over, there are 3 stages of demonic activity.
Infestation, oppression, and possession.
The Hodgsons began to experience the symptoms of infestation. Janet was terrorized in her dreams, and Valak forced her to sleepwalk, sleep talk, and sleep hawk. Wait, no, not sleepwalk. You can go back to sleepwalk. But Valak would do other stuff, like manifest the image of Bill Wilkins to scare them, move around toys and objects to give the impression that these items are possessed, intimidate them with the voices in the nights, and mess with the TV, or as they called it,
The telly.
This is also another example of Valak using reflections to scare a victim, just like it did to Sister Irene in the chapel. At this point, the activity escalates to Stage 2, oppression. This involves shaking beds, slamming doors, bite marks, flying furniture, and other very clear-cut paranormal mayhem. The family flees the house in the middle of the night and brings in outside help. Police officers, reporters, videographers, passers-by, and others all experience the phenomenon.
All sounds pretty horrible to me. That was last week, people.
In the US that could suggest that we may see Valak again in a future Conjuring installment.
It's one of Keel's favorite monsters.
While Valak was making the Hodgson family more miserable in the United Kingdom, Lorraine
I thought that was the thing is more
over in the
terrifying
United
than like an
States.
infected thing you don't even know you're infected.
Which caused him to create a painting of the creepy nun, and Lorraine would have a vision of her own. There's also a scene where Judy is frozen by the disturbing image of Valak, though it's not entirely
The Lion King remake, I haven't watched it.
or if they both were able to see Valak. I have the sense that Judy does see Valak, though, because the name appears multiple times in her artwork. Lorraine would also discover the demon's name in her own vision.
I want my MTV!
As the Enfield poltergeist gets more and more attention in the media, Valak would hide behind the ghost of the old
Oh my god, what the fuck?
From my understanding of the events, it essentially used Bill as a shield, commanding his voice and in some cases his appearance, and this also made it so that Valak's demonic energy would not be picked up on by a medium. Listen to the way that Janet would eventually describe the phenomenon.
Does it feel like it's coming from inside you? No. More like it's coming from behind me. Like I'm being used.
But Bill was not the only facade that the inhuman spirit would use to its advantage. The Hodgson's youngest son, Billy, has a zoetrope toy that tells the nursery rhyme of the Crooked Man. Billy used to sing along with it in order to work on improving his speech impediment, but he never quite overcame it. Valak tends to use the form of whatever its subject has not overcome. So when Billy is alone, Valak appears to him as the Crooked Man. What's not entirely explained is if the Crooked Man once existed as a separate entity like Bill Wilkins, or if it was just Valak taking the form that it saw on the toy. I'm guessing the Crooked Man is a separate entity though, based on this line from Ed.
The old man, the crooked man, they're just facade, trying to keep us from seeing the real evil in that house.
I don't think Valak would risk exposing itself when it had kept its involvement a secret for so long. The demon would not want the church finding out and sending people in to destroy it. You'll notice that it never uses the nun form until Lorraine shows up. The in-universe explanation is that Valak used the nun to attack Lorraine's faith, which was shaken by this encounter that scared her so much all of those years ago. Director James Wan explained the decision further in an Instagram post. During editing, I deemed this beautifully designed and sculpted horned demon too out of left field for the film. It needed to be more grounded and personal, something that would take Lorraine's faith and try to test/corrupt it. I remember the real-life Lorraine Warren talking about her love and reverence for her nun friends, and a light bulb went off. Thus, the demon nun was born. So, we went back and replaced all of the horned demons.
Thus, the demon Matthias was paid,
Many of the Hodgson's neighbors donated
thus
crosses
became
that were
Dracula.
hung up all around Janet and Margaret's room in hopes
full
that this
over
could
the
weaken
top.
the evil and prevent objects from moving around, but unlike the circle of crosses at the Abbey in Romania, this is not enough to contain Valak. The case would eventually gain enough notoriety that the church decides to send Ed and Lorraine across the sea to see what's up. When they arrive, Valak remembers them and hopes to get Bill to scare them away.
He said he wants to hurt you. When did it say that? Right now.
On December 21st, 1977, they perform a test to see if the spirit haunting the house was speaking through Janet or if she was just making the noises on her own. They're unable to determine that it was all Janet, but Lorraine is still skeptical because she doesn't sense any presence in the house. That night, Janet is transported in her sleep to the first floor ceiling where she sees old man Bill sitting up on his chair. He gets up and goes upstairs. Then she's pulled upwards into her room, the room where most of the paranormal instances had taken place. Valak's presence causes all of the crosses in the room to invert, and Janet encounters old man Bill, who has the yellow glowing eyes of the demon. Ed and Lorraine get into the room in time to rescue Janet from being suffocated at the foot of a window curtain. A day later, on the 22nd, Ed helps fix a floor in the basement of the house where Valak rises again. It first looks as if it's going to attack Ed, and I surmise this is in order to lure Mrs. Hodgson into the flooded area where it can then attack and bite her in the arm. This attack strategy isn't random. Valak wants to freak out the family and isolate them by making it look like they're just making the whole thing up. When Ed finds the retainer with the teeth, or as they call them in the UK, teeth, that line up with the bite mark on Peggy's arm, he's going to question if it was placed there by a supernatural entity or if it was planted there by Peggy herself to sell the story. That is the reason that Valak has everyone turn away while Janet is making the demonic voices, and the reason that the only convincing proof of a demonic infestation happens while nobody from outside the household is present. This leads into the next part of Valak's plan. The house is readied up with video recording equipment, hoping to catch some of the supernatural happenings on tape. But Valak plays it smart. It knows that it's managed to trick Lorraine up to this point by hiding behind the ghost of Bill Wilkins undetected. But if proof of the poltergeist is captured, then Lorraine will take it back to the church.
It's the character that appears in the. It's the one of the demons that appears throughout the Conjuring universe. Because basically, the Conjuring universe, these demons are like MCU villains.
To kill her family if she doesn't comply. So she does just
Damn it! Hold on.
taking knives into the table, throwing it
Like, what movie has
smashing
Lorraine
all
Warren
the
in it?
dishes in the kitchen. The audio guy picks up a strange sound, which they trace to Janet, who is mangled in an electrical closet where she speaks Bill's voice, saying more nonsensical phrases. The whole incident was recorded by a paranormal skeptic, the psychologist named Anita Gregory, who is happy to have found proof that the Hodgsons were faking the haunting. Once the tape gets out, the public gains the impression that everything was a hoax, and all the investigators and reporters clear out, once again giving the family, and more importantly, Valak, their privacy back. Luckily for the Hodgsons, Ed figures out that Bill Wilkins was trying to covertly send a message by overlapping the two audio recordings.
Help me! It won't let me go!
Upon hearing this, Lorraine has another vision, where she speaks to the real Bill Wilkins and gains an understanding of the true nature of Valak's presence for the first time.
Okay. What has Keo done?
Lorraine has another vision, or perhaps this one is more of an astral projection of her in the Green Street house, where she speaks to the real Bill Wilkins, uncorrupted by the evil manipulation of Valak for the first time. He tells her that he came here to see his family, but he can't go because it wants her so badly. Breaking this down, Bill is saying that he entered the world of spirits instead of moving on to heaven because he thought he would be able to see his deceased family members. But he discovered they were not there, and he wanted to go on, but Valak would not let go of him, because Valak wanted to use him as a piece of its plan to possess Janet's soul. When Lorraine asks how to stop it, Bill leaves her with a riddle. I am given and I am taken. I was there at your first breath, but you didn't ask for me. But I will follow you to your death. Before she can figure it out, Valak appears and essentially breaks up the mental connection. And this is the first time that Lorraine has been able to sense the inhuman spirit that her family member had gone up against decades before. The answer to Bill's riddle is a name. A name is given at birth. A name is taken by people throughout your life to identify you. You don't ask for a name, but it follows you to your death. The one part of the riddle that would have been misleading for me is the line, I was there at your first breath, because that's not always the case. I think a lot of couples name their baby after it is born. Maybe Bill should have said, I was there at your first birthday party or something. So Lorraine's realization that she needs a name to have dominion over Valak goes back to the Genesis passage that I mentioned earlier. It is man's ability to name something that gives man power over that thing. Anyway, as Ed and Lorraine rush back to the house, Valak is now on a full-on reign of terror. Stage 2 of demonic activity is oppression, and judging how this stage is getting worse and worse for the family, I can only assume that Valak is getting very close to stage 3, possession. It seems like it was even already starting to possess Janet for short periods of time, if that's a possibility. When the Warrens arrive, he's locked out of the house in a full state of panic. Ed tries to break in through the front window, and the demon hurls the
My favorite, I have no idea. I don't really watch the Disney remakes that much. Cause like I know what I'm watching.
Effectively separating him from Lorraine. The entity messes with the pipes and scalds Ed's face with piping hot water, partially blinding him. But he's able to hobble his way to the upstairs bedroom where Janet is about to walk out of an open window and impale herself on the spiky tree stump that waits below. I'm not entirely sure why Valak would do this, since we've kind of established that when someone dies, a demon can no longer possess them, and it's pretty clear that Valak's main goal is to possess her. But as I have in other videos, I'll attempt to justify why Valak might have behaved like this. In Annabelle, we saw in the book The Devil's Welcome that Valak and Malthus are just two of the many demons detailed that all answer to Belial, who is basically the leader of all demons. We can even see Valak's symbol, the Ouroboros, appear way back in that movie. We've also seen in both Annabelle and The Nun that summoning these demons from hell usually involves making a human sacrifice, along with some kind of spell. Maybe this was all part of Valak's plan to summon another demonic presence, possibly Belial. Ed catches her before this can happen, but this leaves him at risk to fall out of the window himself. Lorraine comes in and finds Valak standing in the corner, as Ed tries to reel in Janet. She runs to save Ed, but Valak's scream easily sends her flying backwards into the wall. However, she uses the demon's name to gain dominion over it.
Damn!
Upon saying this, Valak appears to crumble, and when Lorraine condemns it back to hell, it breaks down even further, revealing its true form to her for the first and only time, before shrinking down into a void and disappearing. This would be the last confirmed interaction that the Warrens have with Valak. However, this may not mean the character is gone for good. As I mentioned, Valak takes on more than one persona during the 1977 Enfield Poltergeist saga. So, one of these facades was the manifestation of a nursery rhyme called The Crooked Man. After many of the Warrens' cases, they bring home a trinket and put it in their room of cursed objects. Ed describes these objects as being bearers of evil spirits, almost like keeping a genie in a bottle. For the Enfield case, they bring home Johnny's Crooked Man zoetrope. If Valak went back to hell, I'm guessing the Crooked Man is the one trapped inside this toy. That seems to leave things open for another evildoer to stumble upon the evocation books left behind by the Duke of St. Carta and summon Valak to once again cross the threshold and terrorize our world. Regardless of what the future holds, I'll be sure to cover it here. If you want to explore the complete histories of other entities found in the Conjuring universe, go ahead and check out that playlist on the left. And remember to subscribe to CZ's World for new horrors every week, ring the death bell for all notifications, and I'll see you in the next one. Assuming we both survive.
Well, that was something, isn't it, Keo?
I guess right now I'm
To find
basically.
the origin of Malthus, the malefic demon from Hell's deepest crevices, we must look back to the ancient text that first detailed the infernal entity's name, the Devil's Welcome. One page, studied by Mia Form and Annabelle, tells of the rite of evocation, or the ceremony of calling upon an evil spirit, demon, or deity. It says there is a fragment of the Dead Sea Scrolls entitled Curses of Belial, which tells of the existence of demons. The Dead Sea Scrolls are ancient Jewish manuscripts found in the Qumran caves and the Dead Sea's western bank. So this book is suggesting that there is actually a long-lost piece called Curses of Belial, reflecting the sentiments shared by demons to prey on weak souls. Belial is a real term referenced in several religious texts, which some religions have personified as the devil. So when Mia reads about how Belial was thought to have influenced sin through the way that people addressed him and all his guilty lot, she's essentially learning that the other demons mentioned in this fragment, including Valak, Malthus, and others, all answered to Belial. The Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered in 1947 and thought to be 1800 to 2000 years old, making them the oldest copies of biblical text ever discovered. If we take those dates and apply them to the Conjuring universe, we can estimate that the earliest recorded text about Malthus was written around 20 BCE. We'll probably never know the actual creation date of the demon, because this is as far as its lore goes back. But that's good enough for me to put a date in the thumbnail. To learn about the entire history of the presence that made this creepy children's toy famous, including how it may become the most powerful being in the Conjuring universe, stick around to the end of this video. Welcome to Horror History. My name is Professor CZ's World. What do they call me? A YouTuber, an influencer, a creator?
Something inhuman.
Something like that. Today's lesson is Malthus, who most notably is the antagonist of the Annabelle spin-offs. Like many Conjuring villains, Malthus is based on mythological folklore. The Lesser Key of Solomon is a 17th century spellbook on demonology that contains details about many of the demons found in popular fiction, including Paimon from Hereditary and Valak from The Conjuring 2. It's divided up into 5 titles. Ars Goetia focuses on the practice of conjuring demons, so naturally it serves as a major source of lore for the Conjuring franchise. It contains 72 demons, each one serving some kind of role in the hierarchy of hell. There are kings, dukes, princes, marquises, knights, presidents, and earls. Malthus is considered an earl of hell. Also sometimes known as Halphus, this demon is not associated with the ram form as portrayed in the movies, but rather as a wicked stork with a hoarse voice. I just imagine Malthus having the voice of Jeff Garlin. Halphus is known for building up towns to house weapons and ammunition for his 26 legions of warrior demons, which he can send to attack wherever he pleases. We see this concept realized in a different way in Annabelle, where Malthus is the subject of evocation for not an army, but a cult known as the Disciples of Ram. Let's get into the demon's early interactions with mankind. For as long as there have been religious entities, those entities have had followers. Malthus's followers are a cult known as the Disciples of Ram, a reference to the rarely seen true form of the creature, a humanoid figure with ram-like horns. It also possesses long, claw-like fingers and charcoal black features, which are explained by Annabelle director John Leonetti.
I wanted it to be like this thing had been in hell and it's jet black, like charred, like he's really been in hell, and that was kind of the visual kind of inspiration for him.
He's also got a beautiful goatee. That one gets the CZ stamp of approval. Malthus is your traditional gargoyle-looking demon, which works thematically to tie the character into this idea of a religious clash, which takes me back to his milieu. The evocation page, the page that explains the summoning of the demon, mentions that an incantation is to be performed with spilled blood. We can't see the entire text, but it looks like the summoner should be both envious and uncleanly.
Probably after this one finishes.
Ritual and Annabelle, I'd say they check those boxes pretty neatly, especially the uncleanly part. Let's move ahead to the chapter specifically about Malthus and his Disciples of Ram. The passage lays out the rules. In layman's terms, in order for Malthus to take a soul and possess a body, the victim must agree to give it up. Once the deal is made, it's everlasting, and the church fears this because if the demon tricks someone into doing this, there's not really much they can do to fix it.
Which brings us to the 3 stages of demonic activity: infestation, oppression, and possession.
Why don't I have a projector screen like that? Ed explains the first stage, infestation.
That's the whispering, the footsteps, the feeling of another presence, which ultimately grows into oppression. The second stage.
This is definitely the case for Malthus, whose targets include an orphan who is treated differently by the other girls for her disability, a new mother who spends her days alone due to her husband's busy work schedule, a nurse who can't say no to helping people, and a student who is desperate to make contact with her deceased father.
Breaks the victim down, crushes their will, and once in a weakened state, leads them to the third and final stage, Possession.
The Devil's Welcome also explains a couple more rules. As I mentioned, blood must be shed to summon him, but this is only to be done as a sacrifice to Malthus. Whatever creature is sacrificed is not to be used for food, unless its meat given to them by the demon specifically for food. The last paragraph on the page says, "And the bow shall be in the earth, and I will establish my covenant unto thee, which I have made between me and thee, for every living creature of all flesh that shall be upon this earth." So he's saying that he wants to take all the souls and possess every living creature on the planet. So basically the same thing that the music industry is trying to do. There's a graphic on the right labeled Malthus, Earl of Hell.
Damn.
The protagonist is ever mentioned by name in the series, and the picture shows the ram demon grabbing this baby, which represents a common tactic he's known to use. By putting a baby in danger, he can sometimes pressure a naive mother into offering her soul in exchange for the child's safety.
But you said
That's trickery like a motherfucker.
that it has to be offered. And a baby cannot offer its soul.
This wouldn't be the only clever tactic of deception used by the demon.
The devil is the father of lies. Demons are his manipulators. No one ever plans to offer their soul.
This presence would infest many homes over the years, and each of them taught the fiend some new tricks that it would carry on to its next target, meaning if it isn't contained, it could become more and more deceptive, making it more and more powerful. We will pick up on some of these tricks as we follow Malthus's journey through history. Malthus's earliest known targets were the Mullins family, Samuel and Esther. They lost their 7-year-old daughter, Annabelle B. Mullins, to a car accident in 1943, so Malthus tried to manipulate them as they were mourning. The young girl's diary was abruptly cut short, but after many nights, a new message appeared. "Dear diary, today I came home."
Annabelle comes home, rated R.
Not yet, Annabelle comes home. We're still on Annabelle creation. It all started one night during dinner when they heard B's favorite record start playing randomly and assumed it was her spirits. They noticed more and more activity that mimicked the things that their daughter used to do.
No, the entity took the form of their daughter and asked the permission to go into doll, thinking their daughter was living with them again.
Happily agreed. This was not the spirit of their deceased daughter, however. And by falling for this trick and having faith that they could speak to B again, the evil entity got stronger. Soon, it could use the form of the Mullins girl. They were able to see what they thought was her ghost in fleeting glimpses. This was stage 1, infestation.
Alright, what's your closing statements, Keo? I'm gonna send this to you so you can see it for yourself. Because of the imagery, I think the imagery is what's gonna get you. The imagery of this video.
Still not funny.
Where's the damn thing? There you go. You really ain't got none?
I ain't got nothing.
Oh, Gonzo, yeah. GG, bro, yeah. Good game. That's what I'm here for.
Who?
Oh, no, somebody showed up late, but since we're getting off here. E3 so far was fucking boring.
It was dull. Woke and broke.
I mean, the very little stuff, the very little original stuff they had was not enough. I mean, in an Avatar game, after how long? Blue people. Nobody cares about blue people anymore. They're not the Blue Men group. They're not the Blues Brothers. They're Na'vi. Basically, Link's fairy if they had bodies.
Damn.
Am I wrong?
No, but I had made that connection long ago. I just never wanted to say it.
And I just remembered that they were called the Na'vi. Poor Navi, she's already the most annoying video game companion ever.
Hey, listen! Hey, listen!
I swear, how is it that he don't fucking speak, but she speaks? Rules magic, I'm not getting into it.
No, I think it's just meant to be like the mouthpiece for the player.